We remember back in the day talking to you so many times over the years, representing so many great players. Thanks for coming on today.
Good to hear you. I'm so sorry to hear about the mask. I mean, I was just thinking, I didn't do my hair and makeup today anyway, so.
Now, you're not living in Pennsylvania, Lisa, but every state's going back to the masks. It seems like that's the thing now because of the spikes that are happening in other states. But wearing them outside when you're going for a walk in a park, I don't know how that's going to protect anything, but that's just my opinion. I don't know what state you're in. Are you in California or are you in Arizona?
No, I'm in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Oh, it's California, yes. You're safe up there. You don't have to wear any masks. You don't have to worry about anything. They'll bring the masks to you. I think they have a mask delivery. It's like you call up when you get your food order.
And then a helicopter drops down in your
Gelson's.
yard.
You order from Gelson's, and then they bring it over. And then Nate Nowles will bring over deli stuff if you need that, and they take it to your house, and you don't have to go outside. But Dennis,
So you've been here.
I lived there for 11 years. Not in Beverly Hills. I was a Venice Beach guy. I was with the bums down there. I was more my style down there. But so Dennis, obviously, every year people say it's July 1st. They always think of Bobby Bonilla. You were his agent. There was a great piece on Yahoo Finance where you were involved with the reporter who did it. A great job. And and I know Bonilla hasn't talked to a lot of people over the years. But for those of us who have been around, Bobby Bonilla was portrayed as a bad guy because of the problems he had in his final year with the Mets. He wasn't hitting well. The Mets were a mess. And then he had incidents with the media were coming after him, and he was portrayed as the bad guy. I remember the classic locker room incident when he said, come at me, bro, or one of those things. He had an incident in the locker room where he wanted a reporter to come after him because the reporter was giving him a tough time. Bobby Bonilla, most people who knew him and played around him, he was a gregarious guy from New York who got to be a star in the city in which he grew up, correct?
That is correct. In fact, he was a very, very special guy. He had an infectious smile. In fact, very close to my daughter who's listening right now to your show from Indiana, Ashley, who she was very, very close friends with him back in the day.
So when you did the contract, shout out to your daughter Ashley listening on Sirius XM 211 in Indiana, where our intern Caleb is there, and people listening all over the country. And that's what's good about being on, on a big platform like Sirius and having you on this day. And so Bobby Bonilla, you had Barry Bonds. I mean, it's amazing.
Jose Canseco. So did most of your clients, did you do the deferred thing for most of your clients, or guys at the end when teams are trying to buy them out?
No, not at all. In fact, Saberhagen actually did a deal exactly like Bonilla's, only it wasn't for quite as much money. He didn't have as big a contract. But we try to do as many deferred compensation deals as we can. My background is being in the life insurance business. And just so all your listeners know, we have a couple policies left.
Okay. Can you get me deferred? Let's see. I'm 68 now, so
right.
I don't know how long I have.
Would you pass the physical?
Well, I would pass the physical.
Okay.
In fact, I get stuff in the mail every day from insurance companies. Hey, you could get a $25,000 policy for your beneficiary so that if you die, she can pay for your funeral expenses. Is that a good deal right now?
Dennis,
I
live with him, so maybe this should be better conversation. I should be asking, can you get Tony a life insurance policy?
Of course you can.
He doesn't smoke.
Hey,
I don't smoke.
Not only, hey, I could get you past the physical without even studying for it.
Exactly right. Most of these things say, hey, if you're in good health, and I'm in good health.
Right.
I don't smoke. I haven't smoked in 30 years, so I'm healthy. What could you get me? How much would it cost me a month to get like $25 grand? That's all it would need to bury me. Plus, not even that. Like
not
10,
even
10 grand. I just want to get.
Don't listen to Tony. I think we should go for cool something a little bit higher.
Like $1 million
policy.
Yeah. Make it worth Dennis's while. You know what I'm saying?
Not enough to get Robin $1.12 million a year until 2035. I can assure you we can't get that kind of a deal. Now, when you did the deal back then, because the Mets, people don't realize this, even though the Mets wanted to have the contract bought out, they actually did well as well because nobody knew that the interest rates, now, the whole thing with Bernie Madoff and the Mets were banking on making 10, 15% interest a year, so they thought it would be a good deal financially. It actually helped them because they were able to move on and sign some other players,
and then they went on and won a World Series.
Well, what you may not remember, or maybe you do, from inception, part of the contract, we had deferred income anyway.
From St. Louis, right?
No, actually from the Mets. When we first made the deal, we were always doing deferreds. In fact, we try to do deferreds with most of these ball players. You know, if you did any kind of a study within 5-6 years after a lot of these guys retire, they're broke. Mm-hmm. You know, now today they're making so much money, it's hard, but most players don't make that kind of money. Most of the players, their careers are 3.5 years, and they don't, you know, they meet up with guys who are financial advisors or so-called financial advisors, and they meet them through friends of friends, and next thing you know, 3, 4, 5 years out, you know, the market has a hiccup, and they're done and done, or they spend too much money for a home and get themselves upside down. It's such a shame. So, you know, I played a little bit of minor league baseball, if you remember, way back in the old days, and I'll tell you, a lot of the people that I know and that played professional baseball came out of the game with little or no money. That's why I got involved with the Professional Baseball Scouts Foundation, which I was a co-founder of. You know, baseball's really it's a tough game. It's like being a king. It trains you for nothing else. So when you stop being king, what are you going to do for work? Most of these kids don't have college degrees, and most of them have almost no college at all. So, I mean, they become minor league coaches, minor league managers, scouts or whatever, and then, you know, they have jobs and then they don't have jobs. It's really, really tough lives after they get out of the game. The kids that have deferred compensation plans, I tell you, they're so happy, you know, when they start paying off.
Was it ever a tough sell to get a guy to say, you know, to get him to say, yes, I want the deferred payment plan rather than the one big lump sum check?
You know, interesting you say that. I was thinking about a guy that I did a huge contract for, Danny Tartable, if you remember him.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, indeed.
Danny was the highest paid player in the history of the Yankees at the time. And I really tried to convince him to get it, you know, to have some of it deferred. You know, the interest rates were really high at the time. As you know, Bobby Bonilla, we ended up getting him 8% compounded interest until he was age 40. Danny did not do it, and Danny's had some rough times.
And I remember specifically because I believe we had you on. It was ESPN Radio the first weekend where we started in 1992. Keith Olbermann and I were on with Chuck Wilson doing the weekend show, and that was the night that Danny Tartable, the decision was announced that he was going to the Yankees, and that deal was done, and it was a big story. Keith broke it because he knew Danny and he had his phone number from out in California, and so Danny Tartable became a Yankee, and that was 1992, and I remember it like it was yesterday, Dennis.
I remember it was an extremely tough deal. Yankees really stepped up, and you know, I just wish that he would have done some deferred money. Also, there are a lot of other players who didn't do deferred money that are, you know, that are, let's say, into different careers now, and some that are lucky to have different careers, and some don't. You know, especially the ones that are scouts today, with all the scouts getting fired. It's just a shame.
Did you have anything to do with getting Danny Tartable on Seinfeld for a few episodes?
Well, we had to look at the contract before we signed it, but no, they actually approached him. That was the PR department of the Mets.
Okay.
Or of the Yankees, I'm sorry.
Now, you mentioned Brett Saberhagen. His deal was what? It got 200. I think he's still getting paid, right? Is that over? No, 25 years, 2004. I have the stats. Brett Saberhagen settled for $250,000 a year for 25 years back in 2004, correct? Is that the deal he got deferred?
That is correct. He also got money up front, too, but he got his regular salary, and that was a deferred payment.
Now, did you do the Bruce Sutter deal? Because that's another one of the deals that people don't realize how much money Bruce Sutter got paid after the fact, after his amazing career, obviously in St. Louis, and then he went to the Braves, and the Braves paid him a ton of money, and they worked out a deferred deal, correct?
They did, but I did not do that deal, but I am a Bruce Sutter fan.
Well, who wasn't, especially the beard? I mean, just think in today's baseball. You know, look at the numbers these guys put up back in the day. I mentioned earlier, he pitched 122 innings in 1984 with that great Cardinal team, and he had 45 saves back then, which was tying the record when guys would get 45 saves. And then he got, from what I understand, he's still getting paid, and he's getting paid $1.12 million for 30 years after his retirement. And I believe his final payment for Bruce Sutter is happening this year. So he's going to get his final $1.12 million check.
I'll tell you, his split finger would just disappear.
Absolutely.
If you were a hitter. I mean, he was a very, very good player.
Absolutely.
And he last played in '88.
I know. So you mentioned your daughter she's in the baseball field now, is she not?
No. My daughter is not. She lives in Indiana, and in Jasper, Indiana, and she's a big fan. And she used to be part of it. She met somebody, and she moved to Indiana. She has a husband and a wife there in Jasper.
Beautiful. And she's listening in Indiana right now. Now, let me ask you about the baseball, because you played baseball, you're involved with baseball. What did you think of the way this whole mess happened with baseball the past couple of months? As a guy who negotiated, to see this thing drag on and on and on, and we all know they could have been playing this coming weekend, the 4th of July, if they had gotten this done sooner. Did you believe you would ever see it? We all saw '94. We've all seen the previous messes in baseball. But did you ever think that we would get to a point where it would be this open every single day about this? The Players Association says this number of games. No, the owners say this. Did you ever imagine it would be this ridiculous?
Well, being on the, working with the White Sox and having an opportunity to see some of the agreements, and it was really contentious, which is, it wasn't that way most of the time when I was an agent. Sure, there was a '94 work stoppage, and that's unfortunate. And it's always unfortunate when the two sides don't agree. I just think that you ran into a new guy in town, Bruce Meyer, who recently joined the union, and sometimes somebody doesn't realize, if a player misses a year, misses a month, misses 2 months, it's his life. He can't make that time back. Mm-hmm. And if he's getting a percentage of something, of 80 games or 70 when this whole thing started, or 79 games or whatever the number was, it's better than getting a whole lot of for less games. A lot of these guys are not going to get paid anything if they get a chance to play this year. Hopefully they'll get a chance to play.
The last thing, Dennis Gilbert joining us from out in Beverly Hills, California. Obviously, as a co-founder of the Gilbert Group out there in Beverly Hills, Cal. It's a good place to be if you're going to represent people here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
if you're going to represent. Now, Dennis, the 60-game season is a constant source of debate. Will it be legitimate? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be as good as the regular season? We know it's only be 1/3 of the season. In your mind, did the 60-game thing, will it work, in your opinion?
I hope so. I mean, your best guess is that the teams have a lot of players in reserve. We both know what they're doing. They have 30-man rosters. They have 30 men sitting waiting to play in case somebody comes down with something or somebody gets hurt. It'll be different. As we know in short seasons and in long seasons, it's all about pitching. It's not the marathon that it normally is. It's more of a sprint. So, and And if you really did an analytical look, and you looked at last year's world champions, the Washington Nationals, after 50 games, they were like 10 games below 500. So, some people challenge the fact, is it a true champion? Well, they're gearing up for the short season, so it'll be a true champion for this year. That's all I can say. It's unfortunate the fans don't get a chance to sit in the stands, but they will get a chance to watch it.
Dennis Gilbert, who almost bought the Yankees back, and not the Yankees, the Dodgers. He was in the running a couple of years back. Remember when the Dodgers
right?
were up? Now, do you regret not getting a piece of the Dodgers? I mean, I know you were in that whole group of everybody wanted to buy the Dodgers from the, as they used to call him out there in L.A., the parking lot attendant guy.
Yeah, we thought we were really among the front runners, if not the front runner. But when McCourt threw the team into bankruptcy and it went into a bidding war, then they had a chance to go into, funds and borrowing money. And we had the cash. We just, Guggenheim, what they did is they preempted everybody. They had a private meeting with Frank McCourt, and they asked him what his wish list was, and he gave it to them, and they just said yes. They preempted everybody else, and the bidding was over in one night.
And now instead of owning the Dodgers, you're sitting in Beverly Hills. But, you're in Calabasas. I mean, you're local. I mean, even though you're from New York, you are an L.A. guy. I mean, Calabasas, L.A. City College, USC, Love.
I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm really an L.A. guy. So I went from, when I didn't get the Dodgers, I went ahead and bought one of these big, obnoxious places. I had a lot of cash.
Good job out of you. That's what, when you can say I bought one of these big, obnoxious places and I got a lot of cash, then you've done your job.
You did it right.
Exactly right. Dennis, it's so great to talk to you. Really appreciate your time today to reminisce a little bit about baseball, talk about your career and all the great people, the Kurt Schillings, the Mike Piazzas. I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at the list of clients, because Lee Steinberg's a good friend, and obviously he's had a pretty good resume with football players. But your resume,
really good guy.
Yeah,
he's really a good guy, and he's really, I really, really respect the hell out of him making the comeback that he did.
Absolutely.
He's a very good person.
Absolutely. And so are you, Dennis. We really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much.
And Dennis, we'll talk later.
No, we're not doing any insurance deals here. I'll wait for Bernie Madoff to get out of jail, and then maybe I'll work something out with him if he's got any cash left over. And Dennis Gilbert, thank you so much, sir.